Moin Moin and welcome to Ralfs Foto-Bude. Yes, some days ago I showed you my video of the Olympus OM-D E-M1 compared with the Panasonic DMC GX7. Yeah, in between there were some readers who had questions about the Olympus and who had questions about the function buttons and manual focusing and some other stuff. So that's a good reason for me to give you a small tutorial about the Olympus OM-D E-M1 and some of the main functions or interesting functions of the camera. First of all, we have different functions buttons which you can customize. We have two of them here at the lens. Then on top of the camera we have on this side the HDR serial mode and self-timer button, the AF button for autofocus. Then we have the function button 2, the video button. We have two dials, one in front with a shutter release, one at the back side. We have the program dial on the back side of the camera. We have this small lever here, you can change between 1 and 2. Then we have the AEL and AFL button, info button, the four-way button, menu, trash and replay. On the side we have function button number 1. So first of all, you can customize each of the buttons, and you can customize the dials, and you can customize the function of the dials in position 1 and in position 2. I show you how this will work. First of all, if you go to the menu, one very important thing in the menu, you should see these both points here. The one is the custom menu and the accessory part menu. If you don't have accessories and you don't need the accessory part menu, you can let it blank, but otherwise you should go to the setup menu, go to the menu display point, and at the menu display point you say menu on. If I turn it off, you will see what happens, and the same at the accessory menu. If you turn them off, you see you have only 4 points in the main menu, and it's a little bit confusing because sometimes when you read manuals or something else about the camera, it says custom menu, but if you look, you don't have a custom menu. So first of all, important, turn the custom menu to on. Okay, here we are. I'll leave the accessory part menu to off. So now we have the custom menu. We go up to the custom menu. Here we have the point button dial lever, and the first point is the button function, and here you can customize all the functions, the functions of all buttons of the camera. First of all, FN1, FN2 is the top one, the rec button, that's the one on top of the camera. Then you have the AEL and AFL button, that's the one here, and then you have the two buttons in front of the cameras. These are these two buttons. It's very easy to change the setting of the button. Just go into the menu and then function button, and then you say function button. You have the choice between these options, so you can customize all the buttons very easy, and it's very nice because you have a lot of settings, or you can set a lot of points to the buttons and can customize the camera like you like it and which fits your need best. Next point is the dial function. If you go to the dial function, you can set the dial functions for the different program modes, PASM, and for the menu and for the replay mode. So if you look to the program mode, you can change between PS, program shift, and exposure compensation. You see here we have the exposure compensation. And you can change the settings. Here we have the flash exposure compensation, and then you have on the back dial, on the front dial, the program shift, and on the back or front dial, the exposure compensation. So you can change the different settings like you need it. usually I have on the front dial the program shift and on the back dial the exposure compensation. So let's go back. If you go to aperture priority, they can make exactly the same. You have the f-stop on the back dial and you have the exposure compensation on the front dial. I change this now because on the back dial I like the exposure compensation, front dial the f-stop. Next is shutter speed, exactly the same. Again on the front dial shutter and on the back dial exposure compensation. And if you go to M manual, you have shutter and f-stop on the front or on the back dial as you like it. The next point is menu. In the menu you can change between the front and the back dial to maneuver in the menu downwards, upwards and left and right. So these are the settings in the individual menu for the dials. Next one is the dial direction. There you can change only if the dial works in this direction or in this direction to go up with the exposure and go up with the f-stop and shutter speeds. So the next point is the lever function. You have these two settings, 1 and 2, and here you can change between different modes of the lever function. So let's see. If you, I personally like the mode 2 most, because in the mode 2 in the position 1 the dials have their settings in the different program modes, so that's what I showed you before. And in the setting 2, if you go down to 2, the back dial sets the ISO and the front dial sets the white balance. So you see we have mode 1 where it changed a little bit between ISO and white balance. You see front dial, back dial, front dial. We can turn it off, or we have here different settings for the AF mode. So these are the settings for the lever here. I like it very much because when I'm in mode 2, I can change the settings of aperture or exposure compensation in the dial mode, and in the setting 2 I can change ISO setting and white balance setting. So next point is the setting for the for these two buttons here, HDR and AF. You can turn it off, so you only have these two settings, or you can turn it on. And if you turn it on, you see you have in position 2 you have bracketing and flash exposure. There's only one setting. There's only flash exposure compensation, sorry. There's only one setting on or off. There's no option to change the setting. Okay, so these are the settings of the different functions. I show you now how the lever in position 1 and 2 works. So if we are in, I go to aperture value. So if you are in A and the lever is on position 1, you see here down there the F and the exposure compensation is in yellow. So if you turn the front dial, you have the exposure compensation. If you turn the back dial, you change the f-stop. So that's very easy. Two dials, f-stop and exposure compensation. Same thing in shutter priority. Turn the front dial for the exposure compensation and turn the back dial for the shutter speed. If you turn the lever down to position 2, you see the white balance and the ISO sign is lightened up yellow, and exactly that what's happened. If you turn the back dial, you have the ISO setting. If you turn the front dial, you have the white balance setting. So it's very easy to change between these 4 options for the dials just by moving the lever on position 1 or on position 2. So while working with the camera, you will find out which setting fits your needs best. So you should change a little bit the settings again and again and find out which one is the best for you. Next point of the camera, it's a new function. Only the EM1 has, not the old, the EM5 has, is the, says here, is you can change the graduation of the picture. So if you press this button, you will see here's the gradation curve, and you can change the graduation just by turning this dial and this dial. You can change the graduation. But that's not the only thing. If you have the FN2 button set like I have, I show you which point it is and how did I set up the button function. It's the multi-function. I have the multi-function on FN2. So if I press the button, I can turn the front dial, and I have the I have the highlight. I have the highlight shadow control, or I have the image aspect, I have the magnifier, or I have the color creator. And the color creator is a real nice function. I show you how the color creator works. If you press the button, you will see a circle, and you can change the color just by turning the front dial. You see, you can make a color correction, or you can change the color. And if you turn the back dial, you can change the intensity. Just again, you can change the intensity from vivid -4 up to vivid 3. So this is a correction of color and intensity. It's very nice. If you don't have this one on the FN2 button, you easily can change it also in the menu. We see here the point up there. Here we are. Just give me a second. Here we go up to this point, and here we have all the options of the color creator, art filters, and so on and so on. So here you can change, you can make the settings if you don't use the FN2 button. So I will go back to the normal setting, natural. So that's a natural setting. So next point, you have seen the menu. If you press the OK button, you get the quick menu. Quick menu means you have the most important camera functions here. It starts with the white balance, with the single frame or multi-shot. You have here the sequential high and low, and you have the self-timers. You have the aspect ratio, and you have the resolution. You can change the movie format. So you have the different functions very fast. Here we have the single AF, continuous AF, or a manual focus setting. Just by moving the button left and right or up and down, you can change it. Also, you can use the two dials. The back dial works downwards in this in the list here, and the front dial changes the setting. So you have both options, buttons or dials. If you press the info mode, the info button, you will see the MEGA-Menü. It's called MEGA-Menü because here you have all the settings together. You don't have the line up on the side like in this view. You have all together. And one important thing, you can use your fingertip just by putting the finger on the function you want to change, and then just turn the front dial and you change the settings. Same for ISO. Go on ISO, you change the front dial and the ISO setting will change. You can change the picture mode just by turning the front dial, and that's it. So that's very nice because it's really fast to change the settings. In standard you won't see this mega menu, so you have to make up the setting in the menu. Therefore you go to the menu, again to the custom menu, and here we have the point display, and in the display you have the control settings. If you go to the control settings, you have the different settings for E-Auto, PASM, ART and scene mode. If I go to the E-Auto, you have the live guide, live control and live SCP, and I'll show you which means what. Live guide, live control and SCP. These are the different settings. So I turn the dial now to I-Auto, and if we are in I-Auto and I press the OK button, first of all we have the mega menu, then we press the info button and we have on the side the live menu. So here you can make up the changes directly just by pressing the button, and then you can make it clear with it. So you have the different settings here, just press OK, or you can go here on this small arrow and move out the slider. So you can make the settings of the different color change. You can make the brightness, you can make the blur background, shooting tips. And this is the third point in the menu. So if you are in the menu, you will see we have 3 points, and these are the 3 points you can set, or you can enable or you can disable. Live guide, that's the color thing, live control and live SCP. So in the next one, PASM, we have only live control and live SCP. These are the 2 settings, mega menu or the menu on the side. In the next one, art filters, again we have the art menu, live control or SCP, so you can change the different modes just by pressing the info button, and that's it. And in the scene exactly the same. So my suggestion, set all the different settings to on, so you have the possibility to change fast by pressing the info button. So these are the different modes of the mega menu or the menu settings. Just go back to P. One point, if you're in the normal view of the screen, just press the info button and you will see you have different changes. You have the histogram here. Press it again, you have no histogram. Then you have the clear picture without anything. Next one, you have the 3D level meter here, and you have the 3D level meter. Oops, I have to move this away. I don't know. Okay, here we have the 3D level meter. You see we have the 3D level meter here. So just by pressing the info button you can change between the different settings. Same thing if you're on the replay mode. You see here we're in the replay mode. Just by pressing the info button you will see you have the different types of display. This you set also in the menu. Just go again to display, and here we have the point info settings, and in the info settings we have the info settings for the replay mode. These are image only, overall, histogram, highlight, shadow and lightbox you can choose from, and in the live view info you have the histogram, highlight, shadow, image only and level gauge, the 3D level meter. So these are the settings, and I would suggest that you choose the setting you like most, because usually you only work in with 3D level meter and all information and no information. I think these are the most important settings you should use. Next point is the focus. So if you work with the autofocus, you have the different autofocus settings. If you go to the menu you have here, we have the SAF mode, the single autofocus mode, and if you're in the single autofocus mode you can set also the area, that's the point here, the area where you want to have the autofocus point just by pressing the button, and then you can move the autofocus area to a point where you want to have the autofocus. So if you see, the autofocus now is there down, the green one, the green area is the autofocus point, and then just press again the button and you can move the square on a position where you want. If you go outside the square, all the area is completely activated and the camera chooses an area where it focuses on, and so it's not by random, but the camera looks for a point which is in the middle distance and tries to focus on it. A little bit more control you have if you go like here and set the point on this, on the point in the scene where you want to have the sharpness. So that's it. Works very easy to change the autofocus area, and for sure you can use your finger to just move your finger on the place you want to have the autofocus area, and that's it. Here we are. And so that's also very nice and very easy to change. By the way, you can change, if you use your finger on the screen to move the autofocus point, by the way, you can change also if you want to use it as a shutter release. So if you use it as a shutter release, just press on this small sign here on the side. You have the option no control, autofocus control, or shutter release control. And if you use the shutter release control, it's very easy, just by pressing your finger on the point you want to get sharp. Change the display, you can see it a little bit better, like here on my logo on the shirt. Just move your finger on the logo and the camera will autofocus on the logo and the shutter release will go immediately, so you can make a picture. It's very nice if you work with a camera and you want to shoot on objects which are moving. Just press your finger on it and the camera works immediately, set the focus and the shutter release. So that's very easy. That's a very nice feature you should use. So next point is the manual focusing. If you work in manual focus, because sometimes you use lenses with manual focus, you have like adapters on the camera and use old lenses where the autofocus won't work, or you use lenses where you go really on a exactly point and you want to use the manual focus. Then you change here in the menu to manual focus. Just go on this point, SEF, and then you change from continuous to manual focus. Now we are in the manual focus mode. And if you're in the manual focus mode, you see I can go to the magnifying. Now it works automatically. So you see, if I turn the dial here on my skin, I can look maybe for a little bit better thing here in the background. So if I turn the dial, you see we get it sharp, and when we get it sharp, we have this peaking function. You see, it's a little bit like a white rim, and it sparkles, and that's the peaking function. So if you want to use the peaking function, go in the menu, go to custom menu, and here we have the autofocus manual focus menu. If you go to the manual autofocus menu, we have the manual focus assist, and here we have the magnifying on and the peaking function on. Magnifying means if I turn the dial, as I showed you before, the camera goes immediately in the magnifying. And you can turn the dial, you can turn the dial here on the back side, and you see we go from 5 times up to 14 times. You can move the point. You see we have the point here in this area, and you can move it downwards, or you can move it to a certain point. Or if you want to see it before, just go in this view, put your finger here on the point you want to see in the magnifying. Then you see we are now on my logo, and now if I turn the dial in front of the camera, the focus ring, you see the camera is exactly here, and you see the sparkling if the camera gets the point when it's sharp. So the focus peaking or the peaking function gives you real good help if you want to manual focus with a camera. And for sure you have the viewfinder where you can see everything also which goes on the monitor. Just put the camera in front of your eye, turn the front dial, and you will see exactly the same. You can turn the dial here on the back side for the magnifying from 5 times up to 14 times. So that's very nice if you want to manual focus with the OM-D. Next point is the art filters. You have the different art filters here in the camera. Here are the art filters, and if you're in the art filters, you should know that you can customize these art filters. Always when you see this sign here on the bottom of the screen, just go in the options of the art filter, and here you can change the different settings individual for the art filters. And I think in almost every art filter you have some options you can change. So try a little bit around and yeah, see what happens. You have here, what do we have here? Here we have different settings for the intensity of the color. What happens in the light tone, in the grainy film. In the grainy film you have different filter options. You can use the neutral filter, yellow, orange, red or green filter. That's a real nice function, because if you go outside and take some pictures, landscape pictures with blue sky and white clouds, you should use the orange or the red filter, so the sky gets real dark and the clouds get real white. So that's a real nice thing. The red or orange filter or yellow, you can change between these three. And if you want to take portraits, use the green filter, because when you use the green filter for portraits, the color of the skin gets the perfect setting in black and white. Because if you use other filters and the skin is a little bit red in the black and white image, the tone of the face may be a little bit too hard, too dark, or too bright. So use the green filter if you take portraits in black and white. Next point here, you have your different intensity settings. So yeah, important thing, if you use the art filters, just go to this point and look what setting you can make in the different settings of the art filter. Next point is the art filter bracketing. You can start the art filter bracketing either in the art filter program direct, or the other option is if you're in the PASM mode, just go in the menu. Just go in the menu, and in the menu we have the point bracketing. Here we have the point bracketing, and if you go to bracketing, you have the options between different bracketing functions: AE, white balance, FL, ISO, and ART-Braketing. And that's the point we're going to. That's the ART-Braketing. And in the ART-Braketing, you can choose which ART-Braketing filter you want to have. You see we have here different options. We have all the art filters you can choose from. And what happens if we uses the ART-Braketing function and set them to on? What happens? Very easy. You take a picture, and the camera makes the different filters and saves the picture in the different art filters on the SD card. So if you have a nice scenery, a nice panorama, a nice landscape, and you want to have it in black and white also, just make the art filter option, art filter bracketing option. You take one picture and you get the standard picture in the standard setting or in the vivid setting as you like it, and then you get the black and white option from the art filter. So you have two pictures on your SD card, the standard picture and the black and white picture, just by once pressing the shutter release. You don't have to change between the different settings, just one picture. And 2 pictures on the SD card where which you can choose from later on. So this is the function ART-Braketing. You turn it off, very easy, just go here to the bracketing function, turn it off, and that's it. And now you have the single shot, and that's it. Very easy to change ART-Braketing. Yeah, I showed you before scene mode. Scene mode, there is nothing special. If you're in the scene mode, you have also, as I said before, you have here these arrow. Just go in the scene mode, and you get an explanation. In the scene modes, there are no different settings. I think no, there's only the explanation of the camera, what the camera does if you use the different scene modes. Okay, yeah, so these are the most important settings. I think gives you a quite good overlook of the different options you have, the MEGA-Menü, the manual focusing, the autofocusing. I told you before that the camera has 2 different autofocus options. One for the old lenses, like the 4/3 lenses with an adapter. Then you have the middle area, that's the face detection autofocus. And if you use the old lenses, old lenses, the new Micro Four Thirds lenses, sorry for that, the new Micro Four Thirds lenses, in the autofocus you have the full area, and you work with the contrast autofocus. It's very easy to see in which focus version you work, because if you go, I have to change here to the autofocus, and then I can show you what I mean, because in manual focus it won't work. If you go to the autofocus, I have to change also the setting for the here. Just give me a second. Here we go. If we go to the new lenses, you see we have this area for the contrast autofocus. Now I put it old, but really good. The 4/3 lenses are real good lenses. If you change to the old lenses, and if you press the button, you will see, just by turning here, you will see we only have the, oops, a little bit too close, because here the eye thing works, then a little bit go further away, and here we see this is the area for the contrast autofocus. This is the contrast autofocus area. So the camera changed automatically between the contrast autofocus and the face detection autofocus. If you use the AFC mode, the continuous autofocus mode, also with the new lenses, the camera may change to the face detection. The problem is you won't see when the camera changes. You see now I'm in continuous autofocus and the camera is still in the contrast autofocus. So there is a change when the camera recognizes there's a fast moving object, then it can happen that it changes automatically to the face detection autofocus. Yeah, so these are the most important things, I think. I hope it gives you a little bit help, and you know, the menu, the custom menu is a real long thing, and there are so many points you can set up, and it's very important for you to work with the camera. Work with the camera. You see, oh, one important thing, yes, one thing I should show you, because that's a real nice function. I forget it. That's the bulb timer and the live bulb function. Yes, that's one thing I should show you. That's a real nice thing. That's the live bulb. We have here different settings for the live bulb. We have the bulb and time timer. Ooh, a little bit difficult. We have the bulb time monitor and live bulb and live time. So By the way, if you want to know what the point means in the menu, just press the info button. If you press the info button, it says set the maximum time for bulb time shooting. Press the info button again and it's away. Next point says adjust the monitor and EVF brightness when bulb time is selected. So what means bulb time and how work this? If you go to the setting M, here we go, M, turn the dial as long as you reach the longest time, and after 60 seconds we have the live bulb and lifetime. There's only a small difference between live bulb and lifetime. The difference is if you press your finger on live bulb, you have to press the finger as long as you want the shutter open, and if you press lifetime, just press it at the beginning and press the button at the end, so in between there's the exposure. So let's see, I want to go to a lower ISO setting and a little bit smaller aperture. So let's go to so here we are, lowest ISO setting, f18 and live bulb. So what happens when I use the live bulb? I press the button and the camera makes, you see the picture is growing and growing. Every 2 seconds the image will be refreshed and you will see how the image grows in brightness and grows and grows and grows. So if you're like taking a picture of a fireworks, it's very easy. Set the camera on a tripod and use this function and you will see on the screen how the image gets brighter and brighter and brighter, and after each rocket you will see the light stripes on the screen, and at a certain point when you say now it's enough, you just stop the exposure and you can have the result just before. The difference between what I said before between live bulb and the live timer, I show you here. I go now to lifetime. Lifetime is almost the same, but I press the button once and then I can remove my finger on the shutter release, but it's the same. The camera makes the exposure. You see here, you have here the time for the exposure, and here we have a counter. It goes up to 24 counts. Because after 20 you stop the exposure, just press the shutter release again. After 24 times refreshing the screen, it stops. So there's no change after the 24 times of refreshing the screen. And therefore you have the setting in the camera where you can say how often the camera should refresh. That's the point here. We have here the point 2 seconds live bulb and 1 second live time. So if we change here to another time, you see in low ISO you have 24 times refreshing the screen. In ISO 490 times, 814 times, 1609 times. So you should look how long your exposure should be. So if you know your exposure should be in low, you use low ISO and you know your exposure should be a minute, then you can set it on 2 seconds, because 2 seconds 24 times, that's 48 seconds, so that may be enough. You also can go up to 4 seconds, and if you go up to 4 seconds, 24 by 4, that's 48, 96 seconds, so you have 96 seconds, and you will see 96 seconds every 4 seconds how the picture is refreshing on the screen. So that's the only thing you should look before you make the live bulb. And by the way, you can make the use the live bulb function also from your iPhone by remote access. So you can set up a Wi-Fi connection between the OM-D and your smartphone. You can put the camera on a tripod and use the live bulb or lifetime function from your iPhone, so you don't have to push the button and shake on the camera. You can use it, your smartphone or your tablet as a remote control. It's very nice, very easy, and you will see the picture also on your smartphone. So the picture is not only on the screen here, but the picture, the refreshing picture on the live bulb function is also on your smartphone. So that's a very nice and very neat function, and I think it's a lot of fun. You can make light painting, you can make pictures in cities where you see the backlight and front lights of the car and stripes on the highway or something like that. Fireworks is another nice function, or fountains or something like that. So there are a lot of options you can use these function. Yeah, so good. I remembered this one. Coming back to my point, it's very important to learn the menu. It's very important to learn how to work with the camera, because you have a real lot of options you can change here. You have the dial options. You have different speeds for the serial function, serial mode function, and so on and so on. Only by working with the camera you learn to work with the camera. Just leaving it in your in your bag, in your photo bag, it's not enough. You have to work with it. You have to learn the functions. You have to learn the limitations, and you have to learn in a certain way to use your camera which fits your needs perfectly and best. One thing of these points is, remember this one from the German review, one point is the release. Here we have the release priority for single and continuous shooting. That's one important point, what I said. You should set it on, because if you set it on, the camera will make a picture. Oops, I'm still on live bulb. If you use this function, the camera will make a picture, even if it's not absolutely sharp, but you have a picture. If you work on a sport festival or something else where you need the picture, and even if it's not perfectly sharp, but better to have the picture than to have it not, you should set both priorities of on, because the camera will make the picture. Otherwise, I can show you, if you turn off this function, I turn the function off. So give me a second, release. So turn off in single, like you have a picture where the camera is not able to focus on. Simulate this with a white paper. Oops, what happens is, oh, it can focus, or I am on continuous shooting. Just give me a second, because I changed it only. Yes, I'm on continuous shooting, so I have to change this on single AF. Here we are on single AF, and now again, if we are on single AF and the camera is not able to focus, you see I can press the shutter as often as I want. Nothing will happen. The camera won't release, and that's the reason why to set the point here, release to on, and if you put it to on, that's it. The camera will release, even if the picture is not focused or out of focus, but the camera will release, and in different situations it's good to have a picture instead of having no picture. So learn, work with the camera, learn all the functions, work daily. No, you won't do it daily, but weekly once with the camera, and learn the limitations, learn all the functions, and that the best way to learn, work fast and get the best pictures. Hope you enjoyed my review. A little bit confusing at the end, because I remembered some of the points from the German review a little bit late, but I hope it helped helped you, and I hope it's was not too confusing, and gives you a little bit of the idea what functions you should use and you can change at the OM-D E-M1. Come back on my YouTube channel. There are a lot of more videos coming up in the next days from interesting cameras, and some more reviews. And till now, take some nice pictures, and moin moin.